Is that right?
I didn't hear you blank that. Skype and Blog Talk.
They're
don't
two
like
different
each other.
people, and they're walking around in separate biosuits. But for some reason, when the particles and waves differentiate in my brain or go through the what do they call those? What do they call those things? Neutrons, protons, electrons. What do they call, when
Neurons?
you have endorphins? Neurons, that was it. When it, you knew. So you speak my language. That's why we have this club, folks. Oh, goodness. I'm getting barraged by people now. I better get off of here, Lord. Oh, my gosh. People are trying to keep up with my brain. It's hilarious. So thank y'all, folks, for tuning in. Yeah, we've got the psychic. They're all hitting me up right now. It's hilarious. They're all on and they're listening to me online. How do they do that? I don't know, folks. You go to blogtalkradio.com and then /TJMRCT Radio. I know you can hear me there. I know y'all can hear me on Stitcher and iHeart. But do we have to make it first, or do they play them live, or is it just live on Blog Talk, which is VoxNest?
No clue how it works.
I don't know how all this works, folks. We're just learning. We're in the Psychic University, but I've lived outside mostly in the Ascension Center, and I learned how to do this in 3D form by just doing it. But I put up Alien Stargate with Dr. Samir Osmanagich. That was a good show. He's hard to get. We put it up one night, and me and Mad had to do. Oh, that's the last time we did this, Mad. Remember when Dr. Sam got stuck on the airplane? But we carried the show. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
We've done this before. Yeah. You and I can do this. Okay, I've got confidence now, folks. All right, so when Dr. Sam, I put him all up there and to come on our show for the ACO, and then he got stuck on the airplane between Canada and Houston coming in from Bosnia. He's great. He's an awesome dude, and I really want to appreciate the fact that he's our friend at ACO. And he's really cool. So he does this stuff. So he understands that playing in all the levels and the realms. That I believe the quantum physics guys are starting to understand in science that spiritual science, the natural scientist, there's a lot of near-death experience stuff, Ahmad, that has been around for a long time, and I've never written a book about the near-death experiences, but we had one guy that really got me a lot of people involved in my life, some doctor that took over some famous other doctor, not Robert Monroe, but the International Association for Near-Death Studies. And did you know there was an International Association for Near-Death Studies?
I don't doubt that.
No, seriously. I'm laughing, but it's funny.
There's an international organization for just about everything.
Join us, folks, though, if you're going to join an international group. Are we international because people listen to us all over the world? ACO is international, right?
I would think so.
Because we're the Allied Command Organization, y'all, and we're an official site for, let's see, we're going to be the International Association. We're Allied Command Intergalactic Relations and radio waves that go up in space. But mainly my crew is not even on the planet most of the time. So I have to deal with members that are learning how to deal out of their location in North Carolina. So Durham, they're the International Association for Near-Death Studies. Now, academically, they're already a 501 nonprofit, folks. ACO Association, our international association is supposed to be a 501. When we get the money to do it, we got to do the conference in 2019. But I don't think we're going to make it. We'll just go to their annual near-death conference.
No, it'll take a couple of years.
Will it?
It'll take us a couple of years. Yeah, I mean that's quite a bit of money to get a conference together. You know, you're looking at $15,000 to $20,000.
Wow. Okay. Well, maybe we'll have somebody give it to us. Maybe somebody.
Now that would be nice. I mean, we could put on a hell of a conference.
Well,
I mean,
we
it
can
costs.
help them.
You got to think about Sam Osmanovic. If he's over in Bosnia, it's going to cost you $1,500 just to fly him in one way.
Yeah, we'll have to catch him when he's in town. I've got his 2020 thing because I'm a publicist for my friends, but we do that. So
talking what? 10 or 15 speakers? No, each one of them is going to have to be flown in, put up for the period.
Yeah, they have to come in human form. Yeah, because they can just hear them right here on the radio with us most of the time.
They'll want paid too.
Well, they want to show up in human form. We want to see them in human form. Now, I know he does conferences, and I know he's doing Marta's, right? Marta's isn't until next year's, right? Marta does one every 2 years. A lot of people went because they're so expensive every 2 years. So, I guess we're going to have to figure this out, folks. We've got so many tracks. But the near-death experience one, out-of-body experiences, that's one of the ones I was in. But I didn't do the Robert Monroe things. But I did do heaven. I did do where I was underwater and I got pulled up at an early age. So a lot of people do that. They get drowning and some big hand will come. And Robert Dean did that. So in honor of our Allied Command Organization, and Robert Dean at least put us on the map in the UFO business, and the UFO business is really happening now. What's the latest news? I heard UFO and the Navy stuff. What do you got on that? Have you? It was something to do on CNN or something a day ago. The Navy confirmed the UFOs are real. NBC 15 hours ago.
That's what they've been doing for 2 years. As they've been saying that they were real, that they had to do something about it. All
right, so they bring them out because we're ready to talk about what's really happening in space, right? We're really going to do this now.
Now, what they are, that's another story. We don't know what they are. I mean, they could be terrestrial, some other country,
Oh, you're saying because we've been flying around out there? I worked during that, where's that paperwork where I was working with the Navy? Hold on. Somebody brought me some paperwork today. I bet I'm supposed to tell you about it. I was working on Raytheon that was working with the government or something. Do you remember Raytheon?
Yeah, Raytheon works for the government. Yeah, they're a research department. Or a research corporation.
Well, I didn't know. Oh, well, I was working with the engineers and working in Hawaii back in '88. So I wonder where all that paperwork went. I swear to God, stuff in my life will do three-dimensional. It'll be here and then it won't be here. And that's something Tommy and I were going to look into back when Tom was alive. Tom tried to explain that to me. You know how gravity and time in the quanta world, in the Allied Command actually, they were wanting to know what I knew. And all that, the Star Wars program I was on with President Reagan, all he wanted to know his someone was if they were real. I was like, well, of course they're real. Oh, my God, you saw it. How do you, so people like to keep me as remote viewer psychic, and that's just one thing I do. But we should bring this full circle. But back in '88, I'm going to write that for you, Ahmed, because you like me to do it where people can read it. And so that's our new calling for ACO and the Allied Command Org, and we just did that book. So let's, I wonder if we should talk about anything I did. But you want me to I'll send you this since you're eating dinner right now. But the Allied Command... All right. Well, I got started in doing things with psychic stuff, and people liked me better because I was a near-death energy child. And apparently I didn't know there was such a thing, okay, but Civitan International apparently did because they paid for my 6th grade education. But I had gotten pulled, let's see, how should I do this? Ahmed, I don't know how we're going to do all this near-death experience stuff, but it's important. And it goes on into the future, into the 80s, when I had my military-based stuff. Of course, I was learning to play golf for the first time. I should have learned, well, not really, because I remember, let's see, I learned golf in Houston when I was babysitting for, what was that guy's name? A.J. Foyt. Yeah, A.J. You remember A.J. Foyt? He was a race car driver. I used to babysit his kids, and he liked me a lot. But he couldn't believe I didn't know how to drive yet at 15 or something, so he taught me how to drive. I was like, well, yeah, I can drive a truck to go feed the horses. I did that in Louisiana, but in Houston. But I babysat for him. But anyway, he took me out the golf course, too, but all I wound up doing is caddying for him. That wasn't nice. I had a really good life in Houston. But a man's going to help me write books, y'all. So get my stories down. Janet's been trying for years, but she was so busy writing her husband's and hers. It's hard to get somebody to help you, right, Ahmed? Edit and stuff.
Edit it.
It is, isn't it? Edit it, yeah.
It's hard to get somebody to read them, too, sometimes.
Yeah, even if you write them, who's going to read them? Who cares, right? It's past responsibility, right? Classified. All right, so anyway, here's some notes when I was a kid back in the 80s. My daughter said, Mom, that was 30 years ago. And I had reports that said, you will see the recruits wearing their uniforms, so everyone, one from due station to the next is a requirement. Anyway, enough talk. Since I work for the Department of Navy, you know what I do. I work for the Department of Defense, and in my division, PACNAVFAC-INCHCOM, we handle communications and runways all over the world. So I talk to people each day in Washington, Guam, Philippines, Japan, Huntsville, California, all over the world on the Spa Wars Rother project, R-O-T-H-R. It was classified, but it's no longer. I work on some I can talk about. So most of what I do is just push paper, but I had to wear a classified badge and do courier work. In '88, I was doing I'm going to just read this. This was some notes that came to me today, 28th of October, '88, for my book. So it says, I was classified badge courier work and am presently already involved in a compromise of information. My first few months here, my boss dictated a memo to me, which went throughout our company internally, and then we sent it by mail to two individuals who work in our Southwest Division and another division. After the memo was out, at NAVCENT, that Central Command meeting at our office, came to find out 2 days later by message that it was classified. Well, in 23 years, my boss said he'd worked for the government, had never had classified information compromised. So we had to handle it. I had to go retrieve the copies and report it to the security officer, which I usually was the security. I worked with the security, but at this location, he was the security officer, a man. Before I was, my assistant was, the security officer was a woman, and I got pulled into the investigation and had to handle everything. But anyway, so he had to write up the report. So I retrieved the other two copies but all's well now. But I had code 405S plastered all over an investigation. The security manager just begins his investigation with saying code 405S. So he's reporting it to his supervisor, compromised information, which is not exactly how it went, but it makes me look security conscious. I told my boss how he had written it and that the investigation said that he just knows how it had been written to protect us. The report goes to NAVCENT, and they decide what to do. My boss is not to blame, nor am I. The commander who gave the information on the meeting is for not premising the meeting with that is classified. So I guess I kept these notes to protect my ass or something. Just okay. But anyway, it says, since I was a new civilian, well, coming from Houston and all, I was scared to death. They'd lock me up or something. So apparently that happens quite frequently. People that don't even know what the hell anything is about, they're in charge, and believe me, that happens a lot. When you get passed around, you're the new kid. What makes me think